31 News.
All right, last week NASA announced this new U.S. astronaut crew who are going to fly an American-made commercial spacecraft to and from the International Space Station. It'll be the first time that astronauts have launched from U.S. soil, well, since 2011 when the space shuttle was retired. We've been doing it from Kazakhstan since then. Phil Larson, an assistant dean and chief of staff at CU Boulder's College of Engineering and Applied Science, you're here to talk about the future of space travel with me. And this is big news that we're finally taking this back, right?
Exactly. It's an announcement about 7-8 years in the making since the space shuttle retired, and now these astronauts are going to be the ones that fly on a whole suite of new American spacecraft.
So the folks at home probably don't know, you were directly involved with the Obama administration in kind of getting the space shuttle out, retiring that, and moving forward to basically where we are now. Had we always planned on relying on the Russians for a little while to get us to the ISS?
There was always a planned kind of partnership, strategic partnership with the Russian space program as we transition from the space shuttle to kind of these new private spacecraft, the partnership with NASA. I think it's lasted a little longer than we had hoped.
I would agree.
For many reasons, but now super excited that we're on the precipice for this kind of new era in space.
And it's not just one vehicle and system on it, it's two. That's the whole thing is, privatization is all about competition.
Exactly.
And options. So we've got two, right? Exactly.
So the main point of the Commercial Crew Program was to kind of instill this competitive nature. We had the space race against governments in the 60s and 70s, and now it was kind of fomenting that competition between private companies. And you get safer, more reliable, more cost-effective products that way. Just like in any industry, space is no different.
And I mean, the future is now, as the saying goes. And it's interesting seeing that we don't just have government astronauts anymore. There are now private astronauts trying to go to the ISS.
Yeah, so there were 9 astronauts on this stage last week with the NASA announcement. One of those was actually a Boeing employee. So you had 8 NASA astronauts, and Chris Ferguson, who did command the space shuttle, was a private astronaut now, and he's going to fly alongside NASA astronauts on these missions to and from the International Space Station.
So what's the game plan here long term? We're privatizing, going to the ISS, coming back and forth from that. What is NASA going to do?
Exactly. So this partnership with the private sector in low Earth orbit to get to the space station will then it will free up NASA to go push the bounds, to go back to the moon, to go to asteroids, to go to Mars, all because, resources are finite, and if we can partner to lower cost in low Earth orbit with private companies, that will push NASA to go do more exploration.
And there is incentive for space to be privatized. It's not like we're just throwing this on private industries because, we're like, hey, guys, this is pretty cool. You want to do this? There's money to be made in space.
There's a lot of money to be made in space. Some folks think the first trillionaire is going to be made because of space resources. And so whether it's satellite communications, whether it's commercial, weather satellites, a whole bunch of data to be gleaned from space assets, there's money to be made, and so that's what we're trying to foment.
Or even mining asteroids that have rare Earth materials. It's not so rare on asteroids.
Exactly.
I mean, there are billion-dollar asteroids that are just floating around us.
Exactly. So rare Earth elements here on Earth are not so rare out there, whether you're mining asteroids, comets, the moon. The moon has unique resources as well as Mars, and so those types of things are what's going to be enabled by NASA partnering with these private companies.
All right, Phil, thank you very much for coming in. Excited to see the future of space travel, and I'm sure you're going to be following very closely.
Yeah, super exciting time.
Yeah, thank you. Sam?
Greg, I want to know